In the presence of death, let us not fear, for we share it with all who have ever been, and all who will ever be. For it is only the dust which returns to the dust as it was. But the spirit returns to God who gave it, and in God's hand is the care of every soul. The world we inhabit is a corridor to the world beyond. Let us prepare ourselves in that corridor to enter God's presence, for God is our employer who knows our labor as well as our sorrow. Faithful is God to give us the reward of our good deeds. We redeemed from destruction and led in the way of everlasting life. Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai Roi Lo Echzar. Benot desha yar bitzeni almei menuchot yenachaleni. Nafshi shovev yancheni v'maglei tzedek leman shemo. Gam ki elech begates al mavet lo irara ki ata imadi shiftecha u'mishantecha hema yenachamuni taroch lefanai shelcha neged zorarai deshanta v'shemen roshi kosi revaya ach Tov v'chesed yirdefuni kol yemei chayai, v'shavti, b'veit Adonai miorech yamid. A psalm of David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. In green fields God lets me lie. By quiet streams God leads me, God restores my soul. God guides me in paths of truth, for such is God's name. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no harm. For you are beside me. Your rod and staff, they comfort me. You spread a table before me in front of my enemies. You soothe my head with oil, my cup runs over. Surely goodness and mercy seek me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. We've come together this morning to pay our final respects to Elaine Shafrin. Although perhaps in a real sense, this isn't the only time we're going to be doing that, because her long and productive life is one that in and of itself commands such respect that undoubtedly in the time ahead we will recall everything that she accomplished in her century and continue to be inspired by it. I wasn't privileged to know her, and this is my sorrow because she sounds like she was really quite a lady. I'm going to share details with you that were sent to me, and I understand with hospice staff she prepared a ethical will. I'm going to share some of those details with you. She was born in Boston in 1922 to Hyman Julius Glass and Dora Gittman. And her first 5 years, she lived on the shores of Massachusetts Bay, and she recalled how you were able to hear the foghorns during the night and to see the lighthouse lights go round and round in a pattern, recollections of early childhood, a century ago. She moved to Allston, Massachusetts, and went to kindergarten there. There were 2 hours of kindergarten in the morning, and then at that age went to a Chinese restaurant and got her very first taste, not of Chinese food, but, although that also, but of Chinese art, very significant. Her father instilled a love of learning, and her mother instilled a love of live performances, ranging from magic shows to opera. In addition to her parents, her mother's friend Mary Winston and Aunt Bella Glass had huge impacts on her while she was growing up. She was the first in her family to go to college as a full-time student and received a scholarship to learn languages at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. Go Blue. The United States entered into World War II. She got a job with the Department of Engineering Research, doing a lot of war work, and she switched her majors to physical chemistry and graduated with a Bachelor's of Science degree in physical chemistry, and after only 2 years. No?
4 years for a bachelor's.
4 years, and then 2
years.
more years for the bachelor's. Okay, and then after 2 years, got a Bachelor of Science degree also from the University of Michigan in physics and chemistry. She worked for the research department at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor and spent 40 years working with Dr. Albert Zisman at the Naval Research Laboratory, who initially hired her at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. Dr. Zisman at the National Research Laboratory established critical surface tension, NRL Equal Opportunity Award for going above and beyond in their outreach program, encouraging young students to meet their potential. She had a passion for volunteering, which she had done since she was 3 years old. Isn't it? She was volunteering at age 3, and she volunteered with the National Council for Aging for 13 years after retiring. It reminds me, my wife is a journalist, and she got a letter one time which she put up on her bulletin board above the desk. It's addressed to Joanne Cannon, aging reporter. So, I guess that's true. So, she volunteered for the National Council for Aging 13 years after retiring, the Washington Academy of Sciences, the Washington Junior Academy of Sciences, and various organizations. She had a passion for helping others and gaining a zest for learning. And by the way, this is a very important lesson. Harold Kushner, famous rabbi, when bad things happen to good people, said that a great way to deal with when you feel in the doldrums, even depression, is to gird your loins if you can and go out and help somebody else. Because a good deal of depression, not always, but a good deal of depression comes from a sense of hopelessness and helplessness. And when you help somebody else, that empowers you. So you're helping the other individual, but please God, if things work as they should, and they often do, that if you volunteer, it's very good for you, because then you're not so helpless. You are empowered by it. It's a very, very important lesson, I think, to learn. The greatest joy, her great joy was when she married Arnold Myron Shafrin, who she met when she was a student at University of Michigan, Ann Arbor. And her husband was a soldier at Fort Custer, 40 miles away from Ann Arbor. Her mother hosted a dinner for soldiers in which he attended. Her greatest joy was having Arnold as her husband, and after all these decades now she is united again with him. All the wonderful people that as a result became part of Elaine's family, including her wonderful granddaughter, Minnie. Everything that she wrote that she's proudest of seems to revolve around family, science education, and volunteering. So we repeat those 4 things: family, science, education, volunteering. And those are the most important things she wrote to her in her life. And a special thank you she extended to John for his friendship and all the help that he gave her during the years. She would wake up every morning, each day, and say, "This is a day that I never had before." What a wonderful thing, huh? Most of us get up in the morning and, put on your bunny slippers and shuffle off and get your cup of coffee. But she would get up with a joie de vivre and be thankful for having a day that she never had before. What a lesson that is for all of us. And maybe it's attitudes like that that help contribute to living to be 100 years old. In lieu of flowers, she asked that donations be made to the charity of your choice. And I have an addendum here from John, and he says, a special deep thanks and appreciation to her caregivers, Stella, Mabel, Mariama, who cared for her and nourished her, brought her joy and made it possible for Elaine to delight in as many experiences and activities as she could. When we do funerals, it's sometimes a matter of quality or quantity. Sometimes people die, it's a shame, at an early age, and then one looks for some sort of solace and say that even though they died at an early age, at least in their short life they accomplished a great deal. Sometimes we have quantity. Sometimes a person lives into their 80s or 90s or 100 or even beyond. Usually in those cases there's a great deal of adversity, and one looks for lessons in this. But in this particular case, in Elaine's case, we see that here's a woman who had quality and quantity. And what I want to say is it doesn't get much better than that, does it? I don't see anybody else here who looks like they're 100 or anywhere near it. And I often recall about a man I met who was well into his 80s and still riding a bicycle. And I went up to him and I said, "Mr. Goldberg, how wonderful to be in your 80s and still be riding a bicycle. I thought I said something nice. He looked at me and he scowled and he said, "Yeah, all my friends are dead." But in Elaine's case, maybe her contemporaries had passed into that good night, but all of her friends are not dead. You're here. And you were here for her when she was alive. She was here for you as well. And as long as you remember her, inspired by her example, you'll continue to be here for her, and she'll continue to be here for you in the days, the weeks, the months, the years, the things that lie before us. Uvitzror betzror chayim et nishmatam, so be bound under in the bond of eternal life, and let us say. Ata gibor le'olam Adonai, mechayim etim ata rav lehoshia, mechaker chayim bechesed mechayim etim, rachamim rabim samech noflim, v'rofeh cholim umatir asirim umekayim emunato lishenei afar michamocha ba'al gevorot umida melach noah me'mi tumachaya umatzmiach yeshua v'ne'amana talahachayot metim. You, O Lord, are the endless power that renews life beyond death. You're the greatness that saves. You care for the living with love. You renew life beyond death with unending mercy. You support the falling and heal the sick. You free prisoners and keep faith with those who sleep in the dust. Who can perform such mighty deeds? And who can compare with you? A king who brings death and life and renews salvation. You are faithful to renew life beyond death. Elohai neshamash natata ba tehorahi ata v'lata ata yitzarta v'ata nefachta ba v'ata mishamra le'olam v'ata. You care for it forever and have taken it to life everlasting. Blessed are you, Lord, who brings the dead to life everlasting. Al Mekoma Tavo Vashalom. May she come to her resting place in peace. At this time, if we're able, we'll rise before the command. Shem Adonai Mavarach. The Lord has given, and the Lord takes away. Blessed is the name of the Lord. At this time, I invite everyone to come forward and to place earth on the casket. In keeping with our tradition, we don't leave a burial to strangers. We take part in this great mitzvah, Kvurat Hamet, on our own as an act, final act of loving kindness. So can we come forward? And please use
Just watch your step as you approach. It may be a little uneven, so just be careful.
To those who mourn, we extend the traditional words of comfort, Hamakom Yinachem Etchem, B'toch Shar Avalei Tzion V'Yerushalayim. May the All-Merciful comfort you, together with the mourners of Zion and Jerusalem, and let us say Amen. Have an announcement about there will be a lunch.
Yes.
Okay, do you want to give those details?
The Celebrity Deli over on Lee Highway.
No,
Route 50, I'm sorry.
Immediately
Following.
Yeah. This concludes the service. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Thank you.